My name is Lola Wokaniran. I'm the Director of Community Engagement and Outreach here at Division of Global Affairs at Kennesaw State University. We are so excited to have the Consul General of Mexico. As you probably have heard, we've had a really great relationship with the Consul General of Mexico and his wonderful team. Patricia has been extremely helpful in terms of planning and helping out for this event. So we're really excited to partner.
Just right here, just not on screen.
I can imagine. I can imagine listening, but I wanted to give her props and appreciation because she's been really helpful as well. And so for this next session, it's more informal. And so you can turn on your video if you want. The idea is I will first introduce the Consul General once again. And then after that, you all can introduce yourself. I have Vivian on screen as well. I'll have her start with the introduction. She's a very valued team member for my team here at KSU. And then the rest of you can introduce yourselves as well, and then we'll go with questions. And so the Consul General will maybe take a brief 5-10 minutes to explain what you do here, all the amazing things that you do here in Atlanta. They are quite amazing. And then you all can ask your questions as well. And then we'll just continue until there's questions or until the end of the hour at 1 p.m. So I will briefly start. You guys already heard this wonderful bio, but I'll continue. But Consul General Javier Diaz de Leon holds a bachelor's degree in international relations and a master's of arts in international conflict from the University of Kent in England. He's a member of the Mexican Foreign Service from 1991 and holds the rank of ambassador since April 28, 2017. And during his diplomatic career, he's held various different positions: Deputy Consul General in San Diego, Head of Office for Migration and Hispanic Affairs at the Embassy of Mexico in the United States, even Executive Director of Institute for Mexicans Abroad of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Mexico City. And so he oversees currently the states as Consul General of Georgia, Alabama, and most of Tennessee. So welcome once again, Consul General Diaz. We're so happy to have you. We'll do introductions of everyone else, unless you want to make some remarks, and then you can talk about what you do on a day-to-day basis.
What you want me? I can hold on for the introductions, or however you want me to do it.
Yeah, I know you've talked a lot and you're drinking your water, so let's just go straight to the introductions if you're fine with that from everyone here.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Vivian Pasquale. I'm the program manager for community engagement and outreach. I work directly with Lola at Kennesaw State University.
Awesome. And let's go to Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura Evans. I am actually an intern that is working with Lola right now. I am a graduate student working on my master's in international policy management.
Great. And Jenny.
Hi, my name is Jenny Risen. I'm an integrative studies student, much older than the other groups, but I'm happy to be here. I am of Hispanic origin and looking to rediscover my roots, so I appreciate your time here. Thank you.
Thanks for joining. And Lorena. I think she's on. I think I see her video. And maybe she's grabbing water and maybe still on her break. So Lorena, you can always do your introduction later on. But we'll turn back to the Consul General Diaz, and you can just first comment if you want, and then also, I'm a Lorena messaged. Hi, my mic isn't working, but I'm a student at KSU studying international relations. So thanks so much, Lorena, for joining. And you can continue to chat with us through the chat box. But Consul General, I'll turn it back to you to make your remarks and I guess talk about your day-to-day and what happens at the Consul General of Mexico.
Okay, thank you. I mean, through your introduction, I think you very well described the nature of the office. It's, the Mexican Consulate here in Atlanta is one of as part of the Mexican Consular network in the United States, of course, and it's a very large network. It's actually the largest in the world. Mexico has 50 consulates in the United States, 50, which is in the process of growing. We expect to very soon we're going to grow to 52, and when that happens, it will be great because we will not be 50. And why do I say that? Because when we say we are 50 consulates, it usually leads a lot of people to believe that it means we have one in every state. and that is not the case. It's a coincidence. We have 11 consulates. Mexico has 11 consulates in Texas, 10 consulates in California, 5 consulates in Arizona. But here in the southeast of the United States, our density, our consular density is a lot lower. Like you very well said, our office, our specific office here in Atlanta, provides services and represents Mexico in 3 states, in Georgia, Alabama, and most of Tennessee. So it is a very large area in terms of the area that we cover. And there's also a lot of people. The population of Mexican people living in that area that I just described. And by Mexican people, we mean first-generation migrants, people who were born in Mexico. The estimation is somewhere around 900,000, almost 1 million. So the Mexican consulate in Atlanta is the largest consulate in this city in terms of the size of the building, in terms of the size of our staff, by far. There are over 25, I think 26 career consulates here present in Atlanta of several countries. But the nature of our operation is a little different because of the sheer size of our population and the connection. So a lot of our operation has to do with services. We're providing services to thousands and thousands of people who live in Georgia, Alabama, and Tennessee. Every single day to the Mexican consulate, over 200 people come from all over, and they come for official documentation. They come here to get assistance. They come here to get legal help, all sorts of things. But there's a lot of work and there's a lot of activity every single day in this office by hundreds of people who come. At the same time, we have mobile units that operate outside of Atlanta, whether it's in rural Georgia or in other parts of Alabama or in Nashville, Tennessee. We're in that region that we operate. That's the second largest concentration of Mexicans outside of Atlanta. It's in Nashville, Tennessee. We have a lot of people there. And so it's a big, consular operation in that sense. At the same time, part of our work has a lot to do with engaging with local governments, state governments, county and city governments that we engage with and we work with on a day-to-day basis. A lot of work being done every single day also with promoting economic relationship with chambers of commerce, with companies that operate in here or operate, Mexican companies that operate here in this region, or the other way around, American companies that operate in Mexico to support this trade relationship that I already talked about in the previous session, and it keeps us very busy, as you can probably imagine. So every single day, it's a lot of work in terms of the service part. We issue hundreds of passports and consular IDs, powers of attorney. We issue birth certificates of children of migrants who are from Mexican origin, their children born here in the United States, and we issue Mexican birth certificates by which they get the double citizenship, and we do that every single day. Actually, I was doing that a little while ago when I was signing, because we don't want to keep people waiting for me to be finished with anything. Just keep the flow going. So it's a very active work, but it's always very engaging. So in a sense, that's kind of the nature of the job that, of course, I don't do by myself. There's wonderful people like Patricia and many other people who work here who do the real work, and I just show up and talk. But it is a team. It is a teamwork. And the other thing, very crucial thing of part of our work has to do with what we call making connections with local resources. Whether they're students or people who need assistance and need some sort of issue related to health issues or educational issues or things like that. We are not doctors, or we don't provide educational services or anything like that, but we have built a very strong network of allies and people in the community, such as your Kennesaw University, but also many other people that provide services. And we are very proud to refer Mexican nationals to services, whether it's government services or services from nonprofits or non-governmental sources on issues like emotional health or issues like access to preventive health. We provide services here at the consulate on educational issues, on health issues, on access to financial services, which is a big issue for immigrants. All of those are issues that we are involved with and very heavily involved with, and we have a very strong network of allies. I would just finish by saying that also not a minor part of our work has to do with culture and promoting and working with Mexican cultural presence in the United States, supporting cultural exhibits of Mexican artists and Mexican art, Mexican culture. One of those, for example, has a very strong, a very good connection with Kennesaw University. We are very proud of the relationship we have with Ernesto Silva, one of the professors there, a good friend of ours, through which we are part every year of the Latin American Film Festival there at Kennesaw University. So we bring the Mexican film here with the support of Kennesaw University, and that's one of the things that we do also. So as you can tell, we are all over the place. We do a lot of stuff here at the Mexican consulate.
I think you explained that perfectly well at the end. You're all over the place in terms of it's almost like you're doing so much for the community, and you're very humble as well. We know that you were doing so much to help your community, the Atlanta community. You have a wonderful team as well. Patricia, Luis, I've worked with him countless times in the past as well. I've gone to numerous of your events over the past couple of years, and we see how you benefit the community, and you can see the community is really grateful from all the remarks and of the amazing things that you've done. I have some questions for you just based off of what you said, but I still want to be able to allow some of the students and staff members that have joined today to be able to ask questions as well. So before I continue to talk, anyone who has joined, do you have any personal or questions about what the Consul General has just spoken about? And if not, I can join too. I can have a million questions I can ask the Consul General as well. So I'll start while you guys are thinking. The first question that I have, and I know everyone is nervous. A lot of times people are very nervous to talk to a Consul General and an ambassador as well at your rank, right? But he's an amazing guy, very nice. I promise you all. But I do have a question about, and you probably get this question all the time, how has the pandemic, right? The C word, COVID-19, how has that changed how you service your community over the past couple of years? And are things changing now that hopefully we're at the end of the pandemic?
Heavily impacted, of course. In 2020, just like everything else in the world, we were forced to shut down. And we were forced to shut down for over 2 months. Between March and May of 2020, the consulate shut down. When we reopened in May 2020, we had to reopen in a very limited capacity. We couldn't have hundreds of people in our waiting rooms, of course. So it was a very limited capacity, about 15-20% at the beginning, and we started to build slowly from that. And the impact has been tremendous. We are still suffering the impact. Before COVID, all the people who come to the Mexican consulate for services, most of them, almost all of them, it's an appointment-based system. You make an appointment. There's a call center. People call or make an appointment online, and they come and they get the service. Okay. Before COVID, before March 2020, if you were looking to make an appointment here at the consulate, you would get your appointment within the next couple of days. Because we're basically on schedule. The shutdown of the 60-day shutdown, and then there's very slow rebuild on the capacity that we had, impacted us tremendously, and it created a tremendous backlog of people demanding appointments and being able to come here to get a consul. Our estimation in the whole of the United States is that during those days, the impact is of appointments that were not provided in the whole of the United States were over 1 million. Not here in Atlanta, in the whole of the United States. But I mean, we're talking about several hundreds of thousands here in Atlanta. So what happens now, we are still suffering a bit, because when we open appointments now, they're gone in seconds. They're gone in seconds. So it's a tremendous issue because there's a lot of anxiety out there for people who are not able to obtain an appointment. We have opened a lot of policies and specific policies to make sure that anybody who has an emergency needs a document because of an emergency, whether it's medical or it's an emergency travel to Mexico or things like that, legal issue or some things like that, they don't need an appointment. They can come and we're able to process that. But long answer to your very short question. But yeah, we have been heavily impacted, and we are still suffering the impacts of that, and we are struggling to try to accommodate this in a way that does not make people have no access to services when they are under an emergency and urgency.
Wow. And I mean, I like how you mentioned that if there's any emergencies, you're trying to at least make sure that those people are serviced, but 1 million backlogged. And I bet the same can be said for any other embassy and consulates that are doing the same thing to service the community, especially those countries that have a lot less, locations that they can visit. As you mentioned, Mexico has 50, moving on to 52, but for others, I bet that the backlog is even more severe. And so it's great that you're able to shift, but it's hard to think that when are we going to get to a point where we don't have to, make up for the pandemic?
We don't know. Basically, we don't know. Of course, we have projects, very strong projects in place to try to expand our capacity, to enhance and have bigger numbers than the one we have in terms of our production capacity of documents. But of course, as you can imagine, that's something that we are working. It's part of our very strong and very, very clear objectives for the next few months.
Awesome. And you guys can ask some questions now as well. I see Lorena, I know your mic's not working, but you're asking a question, so we love the engagement. But you said you probably mentioned, but why is there such a backlog? I think because of the pandemic and being, shutting down for a little bit. Is it because there's less people that are working in the office itself? Does it have to do with employment, or maybe, were you able to even up employment because of the pandemic?
It is because there was less people working at the office during the COVID emergency in 2020. So the consulate, like I mentioned, was closed, was shut down for 60 days. Not because of our decision, because of local decisions made by local governments, which I respect. I'm not criticizing them. We all know that it was, a very horrible time for the world. And so we were forced to shut down because we care about the people who come and the people who work here. And when we reopened, we only were able to reopen on a very limited capacity. So yes, the people who were here available in terms of our staff was very limited in 2020. Now we are mostly back to our full staff. We're actually trying to grow from that. But so the way it works is that the backlog is still there because we are dealing with the everyday demand, but there's a backlog of people who are not able to get services in 2020. So that's what's creating the problem. So a lot of what we are seeing, and probably Lorena, you are seeing this, or might be hearing that people are struggling to get an appointment and because appointments are filled very fast. We open appointments every Friday. So every single Friday, we open more than 1,000 appointments for documents here at the consulate in Atlanta. And they're usually gone by Monday. So that's what's going on. But again, I mean, our strive is to try to increase our production to try to fight against this backlog, and at the same time also to make sure that everybody knows that nobody with an emergency needs to wait for an appointment, and that is very important to us.
Absolutely. And I think you guys are doing the right thing by, especially with emergencies, making sure that they're serviced. And, 1,000 appointments on Friday gone by Monday, you probably would think prior to the pandemic that would never happen, but that's crazy. But it shows the demand for these types of services by the consulate. And so the demand is high.
Yeah.
Awesome. Laura, do you have any questions? Not to put you on the spot, but you are an intern. So I'm wondering, do you have any questions for the Consul General?
I did till you put me on the spot. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I was with having to deal with this backlog. Are there any plans to open up a satellite office in the Southeast to help deal with the backlog?
We are we have mobile units.
Okay.
And right now we have one unit that I can. Do you remember where it is today? Do you have any idea? I'm asking Patricia here because with me. Because I mean, we have a mobile unit that at the same time that we're open right here today, here in our Atlanta office, they are providing services elsewhere, somewhere in, like I was saying, in maybe other part of Georgia or in Alabama, Tennessee. What we have in the plan right now is to open a second unit. And the idea of that second unit, once we are able to put it in place, is for it to concentrate mostly to the Nashville, Tennessee area, because there's a large demand of services there. So if we're able to cater to that population in Tennessee and in Nashville through that unit, that will open up a lot of services to people here in this region or in Alabama. They are right now, for example, Patricia's telling me that today they are doing services in Savannah, Georgia. So right now the consulate is doing services in Atlanta and in Savannah, Georgia today. And next week they'll be somewhere else. That's the way we operate. So we're going to get a second unit, hopefully this year.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, great question. And I'm glad that you guys have those units in order to service and reach more people in different areas. Jenny, I know you had actually a question if we're going to shift a little bit, a question during the panel, and I want to give you the opportunity to directly ask the Consul General.
Sure. I actually have two questions. The first one I asked earlier was, how can we as students get involved in seeing what you do, and hopefully to get students interested in foreign service or doing what you do in their neck of the woods?
I mean, there's a lot of initiatives that we've done in the past. Maybe sometimes, we receive groups of students to come here and we talk to them and we show them the operation of the consulate. That's something that we can always do. In some cases, there is a process for that, but there are openings for internships for people who come here and provide, support or to have an experience within the consulate for the things we're doing. There are certain requirements. We sort of prefer people who speak Spanish for probably obvious reasons, because the population that receives our services need to be talked to in Spanish. So there are certain requirements or certain profiles that we look for and we need, but there are opportunities there, and there's sort of opportunities that we do. And also other thing is, of course, venues like the one we're doing right here today, and I've done in the past, thankfully, at a place like Kennesaw, to talk to students and be there and have conversation with students and let them know a little bit about what a consulate is and what our work is and how we operate. One thing that sometimes not a lot of people know, and which is fine, is that there is a difference in terms of the staff that works at the consulate. There's basically our staff is composed of basically two groups. One is larger than the other. The larger group is what we call local hires, local people who are hired locally by the consulate, which is the largest majority of the people who work with us, and then we owe everything we do to them. And there's a smaller group, which is the diplomats. And we, the diplomats, are temporary. We come here for a while, and our government will send us somewhere else. And we are, in terms of our staff, for example, there's about 12 diplomats, if I remember right, and the rest of the people, which are over 60, are local personnel. So it's a mixed breed, and it's a very different in terms of a career or an employment perception in a consulate, and that description I made applies to a consulate of any country, not just that's the way all consulates of all countries work, local and diplomatic staff. So you want to be a local staff at a consulate, that's pretty straightforward. It's just basically an employment requirement of certain profile and all that. If you want to be a diplomat, now it's a different thing. because that has to do with your nationality. If you have to be an American citizen, then you're talking about being an American diplomat. And that means, joining the US Foreign Service through the US State Department, which is how it happened with me as a Mexican, with the equivalent in the Mexican government, which is a totally different prospect.
Thank you very much. The second part of my question is maybe tiny bit off topic, but as an older student, I've had the privilege of working with this new generation, Gen Z, who's very open, very excitable, very wanting to make changes. What is something that you would like for Generation Z and those coming after to know about Mexico and about its people? Just something, a positive that we might not have thought of.
No, I mean, there's a lot of, I'd say that younger generations sometimes don't have all the information about how complex and how deep the relationship between our countries is. We need to go further, and I would apply that to Mexican younger population with regard to the United States. There's a lot of perceptions out there that are based on media or television or et cetera, which is, I'm not saying is necessarily false, but I would say it's necessarily partial. So the nature of our relationship and how important we are to each other goes way beyond the mass media and all that. Like I was saying before, we share, yes, I mean, we share problems and issues that we work together on, immigration and security. Yes, those are issues that we take very seriously and that we understand that we are something that we need to work on every single day on it, because they create problems to Americans, but they also create problems to Mexicans. Most of the weapons that are used in Mexico by these criminals that are very active in my country, almost all of those weapons come from the United States. And of course, a lot of those criminals are active in the United States, and they are harming a lot of people's lives. And we are very aware of that, and we know about that. So that's a big issue that's very common in people's minds. But our relationship is about that, yes, but it's about a lot more than that. We are neighbors. We are partners. We are manufacturing partners, like I talked about before. We are joined by the hip because of our economic relationship. We share millions of jobs that rely on each other. But not only that, probably the most important thing, we share millions of families. There are millions of families that are Mexican and American in the same household. There's over 1 million Americans who live in Mexico, by the way. Our border is crossed every day by 1 million people legally. So it's, and this is every single day. We share history. A large part of the United States was part of Mexico. So it's not like, Mexico has always been part of what is now the United States, especially in certain parts of the United States. Mexicans didn't arrive there. The United States arrived there. So we are connected by history. We are connected by people, by families. 1 of every 10 Americans, I already mentioned that, but in the previous one, but 1 of every 10 people who live in the United States is either Mexican or the child of a Mexican. Not, which is your case. There you go. So that is profound. That is more than that. I mean, so that goes way beyond politics, and that goes way beyond many things. And again, just to have a perception of how important we are to each other and how much we need each other is something that I think is something that is my responsibility as a diplomat, as a Mexican diplomat, to try to get out there, to create that perception. So long answer again, I'm sorry, but that's that will be my approach to your question.
Amazing question, Jenny. And I like how you try to think about your experience as a non-traditional student, but then also, you have your ties to Mexico as well. And so to be able to, hear from Consul General Diaz about how not only is the relationship between Mexico and the US important, but it's crucial because of our history, because of our, us being neighbors, but then also because of our future. And so, the thoughts that we have that, Gen Z has as well, we really have to make sure that we keep that relationship strong and continue to build it. And then also to answer your first question, we did in the past do a backyard concert connections event with the Consul General of Mexico, where we brought students over to the consulate to just see their day-to-day activities and see what services they provide. And so hopefully in the future, we'll be able to do something like that again, so you can just actually see what they do. I learned quite a bit that day, and I was actually very much impressed by all the work that they're doing. So, we have opportunities. That's, us being the liaison between the students and the consulates to provide that for you all. So thanks for those incredible questions. I think we may have another question. Lorena, I see that you're using the chat quite efficiently. So I'll ask this question as well. But you said, would you say it's beneficial to have a dual citizenship from US and Mexico, especially when working in the consulate? And have you seen any negative effects from having a dual citizenship, Consul General?
I mean, short answer, no. I mean, the way we approach this issue is that having a citizenship, whether it's Mexican, of course, I am a little biased. I think it's a great thing to have, but it's a tool. It can be a tool for the future for anybody. So having a second or third citizenship is a great tool for the world, for the future, for a young person. So all these people who come to the Mexican consulate, and when they, get what they call the doble ciudadanía, the double citizenship for the children, we feel that they're doing the responsible thing as a parent to give their child a tool, something that might be useful. There's nothing that can harm them, but it can be useful in the future if they want. For example, if in the future they have a future being a professional in Mexico, buying property in Mexico, etc., certain things, and traveling to Mexico because of the job, which is very probable because their parents come from Mexico. So it's very probable that the future of a lot of those kids will be connected in some way or another to Mexico. And being a citizen of both countries is something that can only benefit. And one of the things we also try to tell, I mean, not that second generation, but the first generation migrants, the people who were born in Mexico who came here, we sort of try to tell them, a lot of them have the opportunity to become US citizens sometimes, and they're very slow to do it. There's a lot of misperceptions out there. Sometimes some people think that if you're a Mexican and you become American citizenship, you're going to lose your rights as Mexican. No, you don't. You do not at all. So the message from our point of view to our community, to our migrant community, is that of course we think they should be very proud of who they are. They should be very proud of where they come from. They should be very proud of their parents' culture and traditions, of course. But they should also be strongly a voice and a full functioning part in the United States. They need to be binational. And that is not a bad thing. From our perspective, being binational is a great thing.
Thank you so much. And we had an amen from Jenny when you were saying of being proud of your culture and where you come from. So thank you so much for your comment, Jenny. And I agree with you as well. I'm actually looking to get dual citizenship for my parents' country, which is Nigeria. So I think it is very beneficial as well. Last question, I think, because miraculously it's almost 1 o'clock. And I want to make sure that we're at time. And I know you're very busy Consul General. So I want to make sure that you can attend your next engagements in a timely fashion. So the last question I believe we got from Vivian, you talked in the beginning about the demand, especially past the pandemic. Is there any new processing that's going to be in order, procedures that you're going to implement in order to deal with the demand?
I mean, we have made changes to the appointment system that was in place. We have a new. Basically, the way it operates is a call center. It's a call center that is not operated by us. It's not our staff who calls to make some, picks up the phone and answers calls to make appointments. This is a call center that operates in Mexico, is hired by the Mexican government, and it receives thousands and thousands of calls from all over the United States to do this. This system was upgraded this year, and it was upgraded in terms of not only the company that operates it, but the procedure and the technical bandwidth and all that operates this system. So that helps, but still that will not solve the backlog issue that I was talking about. But we're always looking into our procedures and see how we can be more efficient in terms of what we do. And again, like I said before, a critical part of what we do has to do with making sure that nobody with an emergency doesn't get access to consular services. We are also very keen on what we call consular protection, which is legal advice, legal help. This year we always are, but this year particularly, we are going to put a strong emphasis on visiting and being present at agricultural work camps where Mexican workers work at agricultural camps here in Georgia. There will be no Georgia agriculture without Mexican workers. That is not something that is said a lot, but it's the truth. And they are unheralded heroes. There are many heroes in the United States, in hospitals and in many areas but we feel strongly that these people who are workers who come from my country and who harvest the crops of the food that comes to people's tables here in Georgia are heroes too. And we want to go see them and see how they are living and make sure that their labor rights are being respected. Actually, I'm going there tomorrow to a place in southern Georgia to visit a farm with Mexican workers. So that's part of the things that we also are very active and we take very seriously always, but this year in particular, as part of our programs.
Amazing, amazing. And I mean, just to kind of follow up, the last question is, I know you guys do amazing work, as you mentioned many times throughout this, really just this session in the panel, and then also in this session as well. Is there anything you're excited about, maybe coming up in the year, events, planning, or programs that you have that you want to just talk about right now?
Oh, well, we're always excited about, our usual work. I'm excited about my work. Maybe the people who work with me, not so much, but I'm very excited about it. But also excited about some initiatives. We have some very exciting initiatives regarding, large cultural events here in Georgia, here in Atlanta. We have exciting news, hopefully to be known very soon regarding art exhibits. We're bringing a very large and very important exhibition of a Mexican sculpture and sculptures from Mexico that are coming to Atlanta, and we're doing that in a great collaboration with the city of Brookhaven, where a lot of Mexican people's business work are in that city. We are having big plans for big events like, of course, the Day of the Dead, El Día de Muertos. We have a very ambitious project to come back to the very large events that we used to do before COVID. I don't know if maybe you are familiar with it, but for over 20 years, the Mexican Consulate has done a Dia de los Muertos, a Day of the Dead festival at the Atlanta History Center. In the past few years before COVID, we had on that day over 9,000 people at that event. And we haven't been able to come back to that. We are looking to do it again this year. It's probably not going to happen at the History Center because they're still very restricted, but we have a very good partner in our pocket that we're going to let you know. I don't want to jinx it, but it's a wonderful idea in a very traditional and a very important place in Atlanta, where we're going to do the Day of the Dead, and I'm very excited about that.
Well, I'm excited as well. I know I wasn't able to attend, I think in 2019, and then the pandemic happened. And so if you have your exciting partner, I don't want you to say it either to jinx it, but I will definitely try to be in attendance of Dia de los Muertos because I heard it's absolutely amazing.
I'm not gonna say who they are right now. I'm not gonna jinx it. I'm just gonna say it makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Well, I will plan, fingers crossed, nothing happens, to be there. And I also just want to take a moment to thank all of you that are able to join us. Thank you so much, Consul General Diaz and your team for setting this up and for you to have the time to speak with us. We are so grateful. I just want everyone to know this is recorded. We'll put it on our YouTube. We'll of course share it with our partners first, and then we'll share with all of you all. So thank you so much. That is the end of today. Enjoy the rest of your day and your week, and we hope you guys enjoyed our session.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.